Come on, let's go to the fantastic Crapgamer reviews, because that's where it's happening, folks. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, listen, again, I hate to pat myself on the back, but I'm doing it right now. In fact, I do that a lot because nobody else will, even when I'm right. And I happen to be right quite a bit. Now, with this little bit of information, it shouldn't really come as much of a surprise, but again, I think that surprises come in all shapes and forms. People would probably be pretty surprised that for a big guy, I'm pretty spry. So yeah, there's that as well. Now, when it comes to something like Kojima, there's obviously going to be very varied opinions about this, okay? One of the things would be that some of his games aren't exactly what you would consider mainstream. Like for me, I like the Metal Gear series. I wasn't a big fan of Phantom Pain, but the first, I think, 4 were just absolutely phenomenal. And obviously Death Stranding kind of divided the community or whatever, but they did come out and mention how many it actually sold, which I think took a lot of people by surprise, because it's a pretty big number for something that really, and I admit it as somebody who's played the game, is a niche game. It's like how many people, you have to play it to understand what I'm talking about, but it is very much a kind of a niche title and something that's like completely different and new. So obviously people are going to be wary about taking any kind of risk and spending any kind of money on a title like that, but it looks like they did, and it was a success. Was it a success that Sony wanted? I guess that remains to be seen. We'll have to see what happens in the future, but all I can tell you is I'm excited about the director's cut. But according to this, Death Stranding has sold over 5 million units on PlayStation 4 and PC. Head of publishing Jay Bohr says the upcoming director's cut on PlayStation 5 will expand on the social strand system, and that there's more details coming soon. The sales for Kojima Productions' Death Stranding have been somewhat of a mystery since launch, but it's actually done quite well. Kojima Productions head of publishing Jay Bohr told Game Industry Biz that it's sold through over 5 million units on PlayStation 4 and PC worldwide as of March 2021. With Death Stranding being the first title developed out of Kojima Productions from a sales perspective, it has performed quite well. As of March 2021, Death Stranding has sold through over 5 million units worldwide. The PS4 version launched in November 2019, followed by PC in July 2020. While director Hideo Kojima indicated that the former was profitable, Digital Bros revealed that the latter had generated over $23 million in revenue. The developer is currently prepping for the director's cut, which brings new content and features to the PlayStation 5. New missions, equipment, weapons, a revamped combat system, a racing mode, and much more will be added along with the expansion of the social strand system, according to Bohr. Death Stranding's core component is its social strand system with a unique Acroneus multiplayer feature that enables players to connect with other players from around the globe through a variety of in-game actions. The director's cut will expand on this system and will be sharing more in the weeks to come, according to him. So, again, does that surprise you? Is that totally shocked that they were able to do that? I mean, think about this for a minute. How many games have basically been able to kind of accomplish this, right? Think about it for a second, okay? What games have come out that have, like I'll give you a mainstream game, for instance, that we know about, okay? We can sit there and we can look at Mortal Kombat 11, which sold 12 million copies. Super mainstream game on multiple platforms. Okay, you have a non-mainstream game like Death Stranding, and it's hitting 5+ million. That's pretty incredible. That's a pretty good thing, and I can imagine that it'll probably sell more with the with the upcoming director's cut. So that's very cool. Now for me, it was a little bit weird. It started off a little bit slow, but then you just start playing it and you just start having fun with it. And I just remember thinking how much fun I was having, and it was just kind of goofy, and it was a decent story, and basically just kind of a chill game to kind of play and have a good time with. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Now that's not the only bit of good news coming out of Team Kojima and Death Stranding. This was very interesting, and I thought this was cool too, because it really goes to show the social construct of the game and what people make of it after something like a pandemic that we actually are in the middle of, and who knows what's going to happen to that. But according to according to the same person, Death Stranding player reaction changed after the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, Kojima Productions' Death Stranding isn't a game for everyone, but according to the studio's head of publishing, Jay Bohr, player reaction changed after the COVID-19 outbreak. In an interview with Game Industry Biz, Bohr talked about the game's global sales ahead of the recently announced Director's Cut edition at launch, as revealed by the head of publishing, being the studio's first title. Death Stranding has been performing quite well, sold over 5 million as we already covered. While Death Stranding being the first title developed, from a sales perspective is really good. The game launched a few months before the global pandemic, as pointed out by Bohr. There's a difference in how players reacted to the game following the global pandemic of COVID-19. And this is what he had to say about that. One of the things that impacted me most was seeing reactions to Death Stranding before the pandemic started versus after the pandemic started, after it actually came out. He continued, the main character in Death Stranding, Sam Bridges, isn't your typical hero on paper. He makes deliveries, he doesn't care about making connections, and suffered from a disease, which is the fear of being touched or touching another human being. Now, as you play the game, things unfold and you begin to realize Sam's true potential and how he overcomes that. We're all sort of going through a similar journey to some degree because of the climate we're living in at the moment. In addition to the realization or reminder of how essential package deliveries are to society. More of the world is also having to deal with overcoming the fear of touching other people and feelings of isolation. Players felt this connection to Sam's character, who ironically doesn't care about connections, and we all sort of relate on some level to what he was going through. Speaking with players through social media and sharing those experiences continues to be very humbling. Although we are still unable to host physical events, which is normally the time you would get to meet other players face to face, we can still establish and maintain deep connections. And at its core, that is essentially what Death Stranding is all about. Death Stranding initially only launched on PlayStation 4, with the PC version obviously coming out in July of last year. So the Director's Cut is slated for release on PS5 on September 24th. So we're not too far away from it, a couple months away from it. But yeah, again, how many people said that this game was a complete and utter flop, right? And then the same people that call this game a flop will champion something that gets 2 million quote-unquote players. Not sales, but players, right? Like, again, this game right here, selling over 5 million copies, sold more than the latest Gears of War did. Think about that for a second. Gears of War is basically, well, in my opinion, was Xbox's second biggest franchise, and there was times I can remember doing BGST and hear Next Gen 720 say that the Gears franchise was actually overtaking Halo as the most recognizable and as the main game for Xbox. And you know, and that maybe if Epic Games were still doing it, that would be something. You know, that realistically we could say maybe that could have happened. You know, who knows where that game would have went if Epic Games would have done something amazing with, you know, future sequels or whatever. Instead, we got what we got, and it kind of, I think Gears 5 essentially killed the brand. But, you know, again, you can never kind of go out there and just go, oh, well, you know, let's let's go ahead and say that Gears is a big thing. But anyway, like I said, Gears being outsold by a completely niche title like this really just kind of underlines how the landscape kind of changes, and how, you know, I don't want to say that Xbox fans don't really buy games, because obviously people do buy games that own an Xbox. I own an Xbox and I buy games, right? But I think that what a lot of people kind of insinuate is that with something like Game Pass, it's strange because there's not that need. There is that typical type of person, and even in the gaming media, you see where they say, "Oh, well, I'm never going to buy games." I see this a lot. I'm never going to buy games again. I play only what gets put into Game Pass. And realistically, to me, I'm not saying the Game Pass is bad, because I think it is a good option for some people. But I also think that if you're only willing to play things that are coming to Game Pass, it's really, really kind of having your entertainment dictated to you, instead of going out there and saying what you like, and, you know, having your own kind of opinions and things like that. How are you ever going to know, you know what I mean, like what games or whatever that you're going to like, or if you're going to enjoy something, if you're only willing to, you know, play what somebody else says is going to be in this service? So to me, that never really made much sense. But Death Stranding is a hell of a ride. I thought it was a really fun game. I can't wait to dive into it and check out the new content. I'm excited about that. How do you guys feel about the people that were wrong about saying it was a flop? Man, I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Drop them down below, or Twitter, or wherever. Let me know what you think. Fact them up. Crapgamer out.